Hello everybody and welcome to my new video about Tesla and more specifically about arguments that I see from mainstream media personalities that I think are really intellectually dishonest. And I guess we can be thankful for people making these arguments because we get to buy the stock cheap before the disruption becomes obvious. But in this case, I had to react, and I wanted to react to John Stossel. So he's kind of a famous news reporter, and he puts out these pseudo researched pieces on the internet, and one of them is called "Inconvenient Facts About Solar Energy," calling what he says a fact, and actually it's not. It's there's a lot of mistakes with that latest video, so I'll put the link to the video in the description. But I really want to go over some of the basic myths that have been around for like 10 years and nobody has updated their frames of mind. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know why you would bash a technology that is so much better for humanity. I don't know why you would bash a technology that's going to propel us forward into so much abundance. Like I don't understand what's the incentives to bash this technology. Like I really don't get it. Like this is not a political issue, and this video takes a political sense, but it's not a political sense. Like you can't argue with gravity. You can't argue with airplanes. You can't argue with steel, right? You can't argue with fire, with the wheel. Technology is neutral. It's inherently neutral, right? Batteries and electric cars are definitely the future. They are some of the most amazing deflationary technology that you can find out there. And these hit pieces from the mainstream reporters, this is a hit piece that is not warranted because technologies implemented by Tesla and rolled out by Tesla really help the world. They really do. So let me just go debunk a little bit some of the arguments which really make me angry. And makes me angry for investors. The fact that Tesla was not in the indexes for the longest time is also a heresy. Like it should have been in the indexes from a long time. The fact that it doesn't have the credit ratings that it deserves is an heresy. There's issues, a lot of issues. But anyway, So, and I didn't comment on the first video because the first video is old and this new video is out. So I just want to focus on the three facts, quote unquote, that John Stossel says about batteries, electricity, and electric cars. So, inconvenient fact number 3, he says, is batteries are really lousy at storing energy. When does this? What are you saying? Like, what are you saying? Do you not see your neighbors switching to battery lawnmowers everywhere? Do you not see tools ongoing with a battery revolution, compressor disappearing, people buying Ryobi tools? Do you not see the Teslas on the cars, on the road? There's Teslas everywhere, there's electric cars everywhere, there are best-selling cars everywhere. We are at the beginning of the S curve. We are at the beginning of a new technological S curve, just at the beginning. And if you use data that is a year old or 2 years old, you're going to be off. But if you use data that is like 10 years old, you're going to be way off. The world is not linear. So I've just put some of the examples of real facts, actual real facts. For example, the cost of batteries has been decreasing exponentially for the past 20 years. And it keeps decreasing. Okay? They've plunged 89%. Batteries have plunged 89% in 11 years in terms of price. And guess what? They will drop another 90% within the next 10 years. Because batteries are fundamentally just dirt and 3% of lithium. Like when you hear people say, oh, lithium, we're resource constrained because of lithium, we can't mine enough lithium. Let's remember that, first of all, only the longest range, highest energy dense applications require lithium batteries, but they also only use 3% of lithium in them. So we need to be very honest about this stuff. At a fundamental level, a battery is nothing more but dirt. Elon reminds that on every single call. He says making 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 the raw materials for batteries one of the most profitable business in the world because it's essentially akin to processing dirt. The components of batteries are very widespread. So these costs are going to keep to go down as Wright's law kicks in, as those batteries get bigger and bigger and bigger. Batteries are not lousy. Batteries are absolutely stunningly amazing at storing energy. As these cost declines show, how many times can you drop 89% in 10 years? In 2030, where are we going to be? This is going to be crazy, crazy insane. How old is the data you're using, John Stossel? Battery energy density has also done close to a 10x in a little more than 10 years. So not only are they 10 times cheaper, you can also store 10 times more energy in the same liter, in the same volume. So that's 100x in my mind. That's 100 times better in 10 years. So again, how old is the data that you're actually using on batteries? I'm sorry to be raising my voice, but this makes me a little mad. Let me move on. Is there really no room for batteries in a car, right? So this is an example of a structural battery packs. You see these? Each of these are batteries, right? They are embedded within the structure of the car. Cars have plenty of room for batteries. Plenty of room. And you can clearly see the Tesla competitive advantage here compared to all other auto manufacturers that use pouch technology. Tesla's batteries are not pouch. They're working on a 4680. They're batteries that are the same batteries that you find in your computing equipment. They are writing down the cost curve of computing in their batteries. It's a major difference that Tesla is doing. Also, so they claim that batteries are thousands of pounds, but how much do you save by not having an actual engine and by just having an electric engine? Well, actually, when you do the comparison, the weights are very similar, just a tad heavier for electric cars right now. But keep in mind what I said about energy density and about the exponentiality that we're experiencing with energy density. Keep that in mind. Right? They're 100x better today than they were in 2009. 100 times better. So right now, for a $4,000 car, Model 3, you're only about 379 pounds more than a BMW for a Tesla, and about only 500 pounds for the Model S compared to an equivalent car. So Teslas are what, 10-15% heavier. This will change. These cars will get lighter. Go back to the early history of Tesla. The early history of Tesla is about building a car that can drive 3,000 miles between San Francisco and New York. That was the initial vision of the company. With these technological cost improvements, with these declining cost curves, this will not only be possible to have a 3,000-mile car one day, but it will be inevitable because the technology is so much better. So much better. This is not a political argument, as some journalists try to make it. This is not about pro or against. This is about a technological advancement, right? You don't build a plane out of iron. You don't argue with iron or wood. You build it out of aluminum. Why? Because aluminum is better. Technology is neutral. Like, technology doesn't care about one's political view. Technology moves on and is neutral. And so it's pointless to bash a technology. I don't understand why you would bash a technology that is going to be so extraordinary for the world. This technology is going to be so extraordinary for the world. We should all be all in. Let me move on. In the argument of the video, Mr. Stossel engages in reductio ad absurdum. Do you know what reductio ad absurdum is? When you start and you make an absurd claim, and then you say, oh, well, that can't work because obviously my absurd claim does not hold up to analysis. So he takes Iron Man flying around in the sky, and he says, batteries will never be able to power that. And then there's another intervening character in the story that says, oh, yeah, you can't go against the laws of physics. Well, no kidding. Of course you can't. But that's not real. That's not a real example. You start from absurdity and you say that absurdity is not possible. And then you take that argument and you expand it to a whole field. That is not how logical reasoning works. This is not a valid argument to say that you can't have a real Iron Man. Seriously. The argument that is used so often by journalists like that is reads as follows, right? That's a reductio ad absurdum agreement that I'm going to read. The earth cannot be flat. Otherwise, we would find people falling off the edge. That's the same type of argument when you try to say that Iron Man can't exist because batteries are not powerful enough. That's the same type of argument. This is not a valid argument. This is not a valid criticism that you can make. You have to be operating outside of the bounds of absurdity. Okay, let me move on. Fact number 4. Miracle batteries, powerful enough to replace fossil fuels, are a fantasy. And they go on to say, well, it would actually take 400 years and $100 trillion to manufacture all of the batteries needed to replace fossil fuels. There's a lot of issues with that statement. There's 2 obvious issues and 1 less obvious. First of all, it ignores all exponential curves. Like everything that I said, the 100x improvement in 10 years that we've seen in batteries, entirely ignored by this. Right? Imagine how many times better you get every 10 years or 400 years. No, it doesn't take 400 years because it's an exponential curve, because you get better exponentially. So it won't take 400 years. This is linear thinking. Okay? How much manufacturing improvements? Manufacturing plants get larger and larger and larger. The larger a plant is, the more it produces. And this is not a 1-to-1 proportion or ratio, i.e., a factory that is twice as big will produce much more than twice as much. Wright's law. Another big one. Costs decline at a constant rate. Right? It doesn't take into account anything that we've learned about technology. Anything that we've learned about technology and the exponential nature of technology is not taken into account. Second, even when I look at that, I'm like, you must have used lousy batteries from 10 years ago to come up with these numbers. You really, really must have. And then the third argument, it assumes that long-term storage is needed. And I don't have any issues promoting Tony Seba's channel. Tony Seba is one of the great American thinkers in this field. Admire him very much. It's a tragedy that the stuff from Tony Seba gets less than 3% what John Stossel gets. John Stossel is like 30 times bigger promoting things like that than Tony Seba. What is Tony Seba telling us? He's telling us that photovoltaic is going to be so cheap that you can have excess capacity that makes sense. I.e., if you live in northern Alaska, you just oversize your system by a factor of, say, 5 or 6. And by oversizing your system, you still have enough energy to power your home through the winter. Every single house will be able to be oversized with solar capacity, such that even in winter months, you can have enough electricity to power your home, even in winter months, right? And by oversizing, you're creating nearly free or near zero marginal cost energy. And the problem of storage is not a problem of storing the summer energy to the winter anymore. It's only a problem of storing the energy you got during the day for the night, which requires much, 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 much smaller battery needs. Like, why do you assume that we're going to be using energy from the summer and transporting it to the winter? This is not how it's going to work. This is just not. So there's a paradigm shift in how electricity is going to work. This is a revolution. This is very, very good for the world. Argument number 3, inconvenient fact. They call it a fact. They call it a fact. I don't know why they call it a fact. We just don't have enough electricity for electric cars. I don't even know how to begin with this one. First of all, electricity is a matched system where the tension on the grid has to match the demand. Therefore, as the demand for power increases, as more people plug into the grid, the supply is produced in real time. And therefore, electricity costs are directly correlated to the cost of natural gas, right? Or some coal plants, I'm sure, but whatever, not nuclear energy, because nuclear energy is a base load, but whatever temporary load gets turned into energy. So this is never going to be a problem, because if more people fuel their car with the grid, you're just going to turn on more plants and burn more coal and burn more natural gas. And again, when you take an extreme argument, like saying, oh, someone made a stupid statement one time about saying you can't charge, or, oh, there was an hurricane somewhere else and you can't charge. This is not a logical argument. You can't take an extreme argument and use an extreme case, an edge case, and claim it as a fact, right? That's a logical fallacy. That is not how logic works. There are extreme cases in every single situation. So I just want to point that out. But how innovative are you if you think the grid is still going to be a thing? I am very concerned for utility companies. Very, very concerned for utility companies. You know, PG&E went bankrupt, but how many are going to go bankrupt? For XYZ reasons. I'm very concerned. The future will be decentralized for energy. The future of energy will be a decentralized future. Right? Solar energy has the ability to disrupt the grid. The grid may still be used by large industrial applications, like, yes, if you're doing steel. But that's it. By big corporations, but that's it. That's going to be a main use for the grid. Individual homes can produce their electricity, right? And then why do you not assume that the electricity produced in a decentralized manner by all these homes can't go on to fuel the local industrial complex? That's also another thing. A major shift. There is a major revolution brewing in the utility space. That's why I'm very concerned about their bonds. Very concerned. It's like you've been selling investments in utility as safe investments when there is a disruption coming for them. And that disruption is called photovoltaic. And I put this, I hate to say it, I'll make a special video on this soon. Do the math. Photovoltaic is the cheapest source of energy, period. There is no cheaper source of energy than photovoltaic. It has the full ability to disrupt the grid. It can pay itself off so fast. It's absolutely amazing. The cost of solar has dropped by a factor of 400x since more mainstream solar panels came about. They were a technology only used in space prior to that. By 400x. And by the way, they're even cheaper than that on a per watt basis now. They keep getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Do you see a pattern? It's the same as batteries. They use the same declining cost curves which they borrowed from computing. Photovoltaic cells are made out of silicon. We've learned a lot about how to manufacture silicon because guess what else is made of silicon? Computer chips, microprocessors, they're made out of silicon. Those learning curves inform each other. So it's the same story as with the battery. We're able to find cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper solar panels that are just going to get ever more cheaper. And that's Tony Seba argument that every single home is going to be powered with overly abundant energy from your roof, and not necessarily from like a tiny portion not necessarily from your whole roof. A tiny portion of your roof may be enough, because guess what else is going on with solar panels? Not only do we have a drop in cost, but we have insane efficiency. Those solar panels are increasing in efficiency like we've never seen before. Like, it's not uncommon to see 25 to 45% efficiency in solar panels from mainstream brands. And right now, the experimental stuff is at 47% efficiency. Compare from 2005. Like, the technology is exponential on both sides. It is getting cheaper, and those solar panels are getting more and more and more and more and more powerful. Are most solar panels 10 years from now going to be in the 35 to 45% efficiency range? Then you really don't need that many solar panels on your home to power it entirely. You really don't. And if you cover it all, you can get that 5x meet of your energy needs. That way, in the winter, when there's very little sun, you can still heat your home and store energy for the night. I mean, it's an insane revolution. And same way here, we're at the beginning of the S curve. We're at the beginning of the adoption curve, but you're going to see those everywhere, just like you're going to see Teslas everywhere, because they are so compelling. In the very near future, most home solar arrays will be sufficient to be independent in energy for all of your household use, as well as to charge your car daily. Do the math. And there's plenty of very, very popular YouTube channels where you can do it yourself and do the math and do the calculation. And it is astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. This is a calculation that I've made for all of the solar panels that you would need for the average American house, a 2,400 square foot house with 4 people living in it. You only need 21 panels like these to cover the whole house. That's $3,250. And that's not theoretical, by the way. You can just go ahead and buy them on eBay. Chinese solar panels. Super inexpensive. They may not be the best quality, but there's no moving parts, which is another big advantage of solar panels. If there are no moving parts in a solar panel, when you make a product with no moving parts, quality matters less. Quality matters more for moving parts. So that's also why I don't invest in solar panels, but that's a different reason. It's a different thing. I calculated for my home, 5 bedrooms, bigger house, the total cost, including solar panels, inverters, microinverters, batteries, all of the wiring, I am at $9,000 for never, ever, ever having to pay an electric bill again. Now, of course, right now, you don't see that many of those because installers like to make a lot of money because they're in high demand. So installers are overcharging for permitting. Installers are overcharging, earning excess return because the demand is so high. But installers will not charge that much forever, right? I mean, eventually those costs will come down even more on the materials side. So I can't even help tell you how much this is the future. And by the way, for about $18,000, not only you can power your whole house with electricity, but you can also power your car with solar from your roof. That way the car costs you nothing at all, and your electricity costs you nothing at all. This is a revolution. Electricity is going to be decentralized. And this is a channel that I like, but I can recommend you many channels on solar panels. This is DIY Solar with Will Pro's great channel, walking you through those numbers. And you will be amazed by how inexpensive this is getting. Like I said, this is 90% cheaper than 10 years ago. So if you think of solar energy and if your prices are 2 years old, you need to check again, because you'll probably be shocked by how much cheaper they get. And they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper every year. And with the government putting fuel on the solar energy fire that is already happening, with the new subsidies, the 30% federal credit, with all of the fuel that the government is putting on this is so just the beginning of that S curve. So again, to say that we don't have enough electricity for electric cars is just disingenuous, or at least you're actually not paying attention to the trends. You didn't do a calculation, you didn't do the math if you say that. And you have a lot of very crafty YouTubers who also have fun, just carry flexible solar panels and charge their Tesla and be like, okay, I parked my car here in the sun for the afternoon, and by the way, I got a 10% more charge just with this little solar panel. Well, yes, that is how it works. Not that little, but you get what I mean, like a top, like the size of a top. So, and the last argument, which argument they make, is they do say that it's hypocrisy for Tesla, for renewable energy. It's hypocrisy because fuel-powered trucks are delivering Teslas and other cars, and also it is fuel-powered construction material that is digging in those mines, digging the lithium. Even though lithium is just 3% of what you need, but digging other materials is done by gas-fueled equipment. And all I have to say, and I'll conclude this video with this, all I have to say is, if you go back in the mid-1850s, back in the steam engine era, the steam engine was the first agricultural revolution, the first revolution in general. Guess who got the coal out of the mine? The coal that would power the steam engine, that would power the first industrial revolution. That coal was gotten out of the mine by the horse which was about to be disrupted a few decades later. So that is the nature of innovation. The incumbent helps that innovation be triggered, just like the horse got the coal out that eventually brought its demise, and the horse all of a sudden was not needed in agriculture anymore because the steam engine arrived and all agricultural equipment was steam powered. That same revolution is happening today, where giant gas-powered trucks are getting the raw materials needed for the next revolution. That is just the nature of disruption and the nature of technology. So again, I hope I was able to just get my thoughts out and my opinions out on this. And as long as we have people that just can't look at the facts like that, I guess we're going to be lucky, because if we get in early in these revolutions, we are going to have amazing investments. And so whatever you buy related to this revolution, whether it's Tesla, I think Tesla is the most compelling one, or Enphase, I like Enphase with microinverters, I think we're going to do very well. This is not investment advice, never investment advice. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter if you can. Thank you so much and have a great day. Thank you.